Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to today's show, which is titled My First Day as President of DC Studios. Obviously, I'm not the actual president of DC Studios. Don't sue me, DC and WB. We are pretending for the sake of this video. So I have demanded a huge salary, a chauffeur because I don't drive myself, so I want someone driving me about. I want a big building made of glass. I want it stunning, and I'm going to call it Wayne Towers, right? Just for a bit of fun. And I'm going to walk into these new offices with my new employees of the newly formed DC Studios, and I'm going to change the lyrics to the Lego song sung by the character of Emmett from the Lego movie. Instead of Everything is Awesome, I'm going to be singing Everything is Cancelled. Everything is cancelled. I don't care what your favourite movie or TV series is. Everything within the universe of DC live action is cancelled. The Batman franchise, the Suicide Squad franchise by James Gunn, Peacemaker 2 ain't happening. Doom Patrol, Titans, everything is now cancelled. The DCEU is dead. There will be no Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the Flash movie, Black Adam, Shazam Fury of the Gods. Those movies, are not happening. I'll pay everyone what they would have made. Here you are. Here's your money. Sorry, Mr. Zaslav. Has to be done. You gave me this job, so I have to do this. Everything is cancelled. So that means I need a new plan. It's going to be several years till we see any DC content. But that's a good thing, because it gives people a break from DC. It gives people an opportunity to take some deep breaths and get excited for the future. Number one thing that I want, one franchise that's interconnected on HBO Max and in movie theatres. So the first thing I do is I ring up Neil Gaiman, who literally created DC Vertigo, which has Lucifer and Constantine and things like that. Not the biggest fan of Neil Gaiman. I find him a bit arrogant, right? But he's a genius, right? He created some wonderful characters for DC Vertigo. I'm going to give him a call. So silence. Hello, Neil boy. I really loved Sandman on Netflix. How are you doing? I think you're great. I loved your episodes of Doctor Who. The Doctor's wife was awesome. Yes, what do I want? You're a very busy man. I understand, Neil. You're very elite and very important, and I'm just a random. I get that. Neil, I am now the president of DC Studios. Within those studios, I want a live action department for DC Vertigo, and I want you to head it up. I will not interfere. You understand these characters. You understand live action as well as graphic novels. I want you to head it up. I don't want anything going to Netflix. You will be making content for either HBO Max or cinematically. I do want a Constantine and a Lucifer movie with those two characters together going through the theatrical system. Can you do all of that for me? Wow, this is exciting. Thank you, Neil. Breaking news, everyone, on social media. All existing DC live action content is dead. But I'm going to have a brand new connected universe for you in a couple of years. Breaking news, I have had discussions with Neil Gaiman right now, and he will be heading the DC Vertigo division of DC live action and DC Studios. Very exciting. I will be back with you for more news. Hello, Todd Phillips. How's it going? Now, I don't know if you know this and what your knowledge of comic books is, but the DC Black Label live action division you had, the idea you had, is actually a division of DC Comics itself. A very successful division, DC Black Label. It is kind of elseworldly. I am, by the way, sorry, how rude of me. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, or however you swing, right? Yes, I want you to head up a live action division of Black Label and adapt many Black Label comics, right? You can continue your Phoenix universe and just bleed it through that. So I want a Black Label live action department here at the newly formed DC Studios. Are you interested, Mr. Phillips? I'll call you Todd. Okay, Todd, are you interested? I will not interfere with you, but I want everything connected, right? You know, your Black Label is an Elseworld, but it's from one connected universe, and sometimes maybe some characters from the main universe may cross over. But basically, you're part of an Elseworld universe, but you're going to be part of this division, right? An Elseworld universe. So, you will be heading up DC Black Label live action. Are you interested? Yeah? Brilliant! We'll do brunch soon. See you later. Breaking news, not only will Neil Gaiman be heading up a live-action division within the newly formed DC Studios for DC Vertigo. I've this moment got off the phone with Todd Phillips, and he'll be heading a live-action Black Label, adapting many Black Label graphic novels and making it as part of his Joker kind of Elseworldy universe. Very, very good news. Right, I'm going to ring up Peter Jackson. Hello, Pete. Oh, Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry. Good day, mate. How's it going? I love The Lord of the Rings. I can't believe that Amazon didn't get back to you about the Rings of Power. Yeah, mate. I mean, those bludgers, mate. Those bludgers. Anyway, listen, I don't know if you have much knowledge, my friend, about the Green Lantern Corps that's part of DC Comics. You do. Well, for me, this is Star Wars in the DC universe. And oh, again, how rude of me. This is Mick, your host with the most. Just like your girlfriends and your wives, or however you swing. Yeah, I'm Mick, and I'm the new president of DC Studios, and it's my first day. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Jackson. Oh, I could call you Pete now. Right, well, Pete, I would like you to be part of DC Studios, and I would want you to head a very ambitious live-action franchise that goes directly through the theatrical system of a Green Lantern Corps franchise. As I say, I see this as our Star Wars, and I want you to head that up. Are you interested in doing so? Absolutely fantastic. Brilliant. Breaking news. Peter Jackson will be running a live-action Green Lantern Corps franchise. Us at DC Studios see it as our Star Wars. It's going to be part of the universe. It's going to be interconnected, but everyone working in these little departments gets to do their thing. Very exciting. Shush, because I'm going to ring up my favourite people now. Alfred Goff and Miles Miller, who are the creators of Smallville. Hello, is it Al or Miles? Or do you have a phone each, like the parents did in the Lois and Clark show with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher? You both got a phone, awesome. What can I call you? Al and Miles, that's really, really good. So, Al and Miles, listen, I'm a huge Smallville fan, and it's my first day at DC Studios. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Mick, your host with the most, just ask your girlfriends and your wives, or however you swing. Right, big Smallville fan. I want us to revive Smallville as part of the DC Studios franchise. You know, it'll be connected to this one franchise I'm developing, and I want us to do something with Smallville, and it's up to you. I'm not necessarily saying the Smallville Superman will be our Superman, but I think we can do something as part of this franchise and revive Smallville either for HBO Max, maybe a Smallville reboot or something. Maybe a show on HBO Max. Maybe a reboot, lads. Maybe a Smallville reboot. That would be good. We could have a brand new Clark Kent. And maybe what we're doing on HBO Max is telling the character-driven story of how Clark Kent became our Superman in the Central Universe. How about that? So these are the kind of things I would do if I was president of DC, and this is what I would be doing on my first day. You know, going to Neil Gaiman to make him a part of these DC studios. You know, I don't understand how Sandman is on Netflix. You know, Sandman should be on HBO Max. I would imagine Neil Gaiman doesn't have much trust for Warner Brothers Television, and who can blame him? He's resisted in doing Sandman in live action for many, many years, mostly doing it via audiobooks. You know, Neil Gaiman isn't my cup of tea, but he is a very clever man. But yeah, I would go to Neil Gaiman and I'd say, I want you part of DC Studios and I want you working on your DC Vertigo division. Todd Phillips, Black Label. You know, Peter Jackson, you know, molding a Green Lantern core universe for the cinematic theatrical system is also a no-brainer, and this is what I would do. Then you become very, very stuck because I'm not going to bother. As I said, I've constructed a new song. Everything is cancelled. So there's no Henry Cavill Superman anymore. There's no Tyler Hoechlin Superman anymore. But would it be possible to bring Brandon Routh back as Superman, and could we adapt the Superman 78 graphic novel which continues after Superman the movie? We could do this. Now, they attempted to do this with Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, and most people said there was no point in continuing the Donnerverse. So that could be something that could be looked at. Probably the most sensible thing would be maybe we could do that on HBO Max, but have a central Superman maybe in our universe. But most probably it makes more sense to have one defined universe rather than messing around. So I need a new Superman, and there's many, many actors who could play Superman. I've spoken about Austin Butler, who played Elvis in the Elvis Presley movie. But probably I would go down the Dick Donner route, which is a total unknown. You don't want to see a famous person dressing up as Superman because he's not Superman, right? And, you know, he'd be Austin Butler, he wouldn't be Superman. But Austin Butler isn't famous enough to worry about, so he could be a good piece of casting. And what would I do next? Well, there's no The Batman universe anymore. Matt Reeves is gone. No Batfleck. Snyder's gone. Everyone's gone. So what do I do with the Batman universe? Well, I do what should have been done many years ago. What should have been, well, what they tried to do in Batman Forever, at least, and Batman and Robin, was create the Bat family with Dick Grayson and Batgirl. So what I would do with a Batman universe is create the Batman family universe, and you must start with Batman. I want an actor within his 20s, mid-20s, 23, 25. I want kind of not too young, but not too old either. I want him to be around. So we set up Batman. I don't think we really need to mess about with the origin, but we'll do something with him. But within that first movie, straight away, we don't only introduce Batman, we introduce Batgirl, we introduced Jason Todd, you know, Dick Grayson, and we make Dick Grayson Nightwing. Basically, this is an origin movie for the whole Bat family, and we construct the Bat family. I believe most Bat stans want to see this. It's something really that Matt Reeves didn't do. I don't know if this is the plan or was the plan for the sequel, but this is what I do. I think, you know, cancelling a Batgirl movie, I mean, it may say something about the state of the movie, but not giving that movie more money to go through the cinematic system and saying to them, we want to create a whole universe for the Bat family. Maybe that's what they're planning in the future. I don't know if I can trust David Zaslav. I like some of his decisions, if not all of his decisions. But I don't know if he understands what DC is and if he's going to implement the right DC president for the studios. So that will be my next thing. Now, Superman has a family as well. We have the Kents. We have Supergirl. We could have some fun. There's a monkey called Beppo the Super Monkey. We obviously know that there's Krypto the Super Dog, but there's a lot of things in the Superman universe you could do. But first of all, as Snyder said when he was doing Man of Steel, you need to get Superman's house in order. We need an inspirational Superman. I don't want to see evil Superman anymore. I want to see a Superman adults, kids can watch together, because that's who Superman is. And I want him to be the character from the comics. Right piece of casting, integrating the Superman family as well. We want a Fortress of Solitude. We want to do the things from the comics. And eventually maybe we'll do a competent Death of Superman storyline. I'm not saying that Zack Snyder's one wouldn't have been competent, but you don't do a Superman Rebirth story in a 4-hour Justice League movie and only have Superman in it for not even 5-10 minutes of the movie. That's wrong. No matter what's going to happen with the sequels, you're doing a Justice League movie, and we do one down the line here at DC Studios, of course, in the imaginary world where I'm president, and this is my first day. So these are the kind of things that I would do. I would implement so many, the Justice League Dark idea from J.J. Abrams. It's a good idea to do that franchise, and I'll bring someone in who understands that franchise. But I think that's more of a DC Vertigo kind of corner, I think, anyway, because I think Constantine and all that are from that corner. I think. I don't know exactly. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on all things DC, but I love DC, mostly DC live action. That's where my expertise is. And this is what I would be doing, everyone. I would be, one solid DC interconnected franchise. But it's important to have the central universe, but it is important to have a live action DC Vertigo universe because those characters are beloved. It's important to have a DC Black Label live action universe as part of DC Studios and get someone like Todd Phillips to develop that. It's important to have all these different worlds. And as long as people understand that Black Label is an Elseworld, that DC Vertigo is another section of DC, and as long as people get that, that's fine. It's not necessarily a multiverse strategy. It's being fair to all corners of the DC fandom. Because I believe the most important people to serve are the DC fans who buy the comics. Of course, I want families, I want I want the commercial mainstream audience there going to watch these movies. I want everyone to enjoy DC. Is it too little, too late for DC Studios? Are superheroes still a trend? Or are we losing that trend now? What films have people been talking about the most? Usually, it's the MCU, not this year. Everything Everywhere All at Once has been trending since it was released. The same with Top Gun Maverick. The same with last week's release, Prey, right? Which is a Predator sequel, which is on streaming. It's not even been released theatrically. These are the films people have been excited about this year, whether you like it or not. I love superheroes. I love DC live action. I want them to still have movies, but I don't think they're as big a trend. I think the trend is going. This doesn't mean you shouldn't continue with a DC Studios and start, making a connective, comic book universe from DC Studios. Because Superman the movie and Superman 2 were very successful when superheroes weren't a trend. Of course, Superman was already a trend because of what Dick Donner did. Because Superman was dying out in the comic book universe. People were losing interest until the Dick Donner movie. They're facts. But Batman 89 and Batman Returns was beloved, even though superheroes weren't a trend. Singer's X-Men and X-Men 2 were beloved and made a lot of money, despite superheroes and comics not being a trend at that time. Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi, the same thing. So they don't have to be a trend to continue going on. So these are some of the things that I would be doing. So that's what I would do on my first day at DC Studios. Let me know what kind of ideas you've got and let me know what you would do. There's certainly new things and very exciting things happening with David Zaslav, being in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery. What we don't know is, are his plans the right plans? Is it right to still have a Peacemaker 2 and all these other kind of films and franchises, or should everything be cancelled all at once? I understand it's difficult just to bin everything. It's just something I'd like to see happen, and it's just the way, in a perfect world, I would do things. It's been another huge week of DC news and rumours. This week I've read 3 articles from The Hollywood Reporter and 1 from Variety. I do not like Variety. I believe they're in bed with Toby Emmerich, the embattled former chairman of the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, who destroyed the Snyderverse, who is behind Justice League, and he's done a lot of, terrible things. And the Variety article I read to you yesterday was full of so much rumour and toxicity and misinformation. Things like, you know, people that work at DC are on Walter Hamada's side. They don't believe he was treated well by WB, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and the new chair people at Warner Brothers Pictures, you know, Pam Adby and Mike DeLuca, really want him to stay on. Again, they were mixing everything up. No, they've asked him to stay on until October, until they announced the new president of DC Studios, but I'm sure they'd give Walter a job at Warner Brothers Pictures or, you know, go back to New Line Cinema. Bullshit. Then they kind of gave us this 150 million budget for Joker. It's clear that Toby Emmerich is feeding them some information, but a lot of things in that article were BS. For example, they told us although the Batman 2 is in development, it hasn't been green-lit. Obviously, he hasn't finished the script. He's nowhere near finishing the script, but it's in development. We know that David Zaslav is very happy with the Batman's box office performance. And he was the one, you know, at Warner Brothers Discovery up front who actually announced the Batman sequel. So I have no doubts that that is happening. Again, Variety are trying to stir the pot because Emmerich is really angry about the Batgirl cancellation. That's one bonus he won't be getting. So over in the Hollywood Reporter yesterday, they spoke about what's going to happen with The Flash, and that the last case scenario they're thinking of is shelving the Flash movie, and they have like these three kind of alternate plans to deal with the movie. One is to market the movie without really using Ezra Miller. I don't think it's going to work. Again, as I said earlier today on this video, when I was pretending to be on my first day as president of DC Studios, everything would be shelved because none of this stuff is going to work in the long run. As far as I'm concerned, you need one connected franchise, and you need to start thinking about the comic book fans because, you know, studios and creatives don't normally do that when they're adapting and developing these properties. So, and it's what the Hollywood Reporter were reporting yesterday wasn't breaking news, by the way. They've been trying to decide about the Flash movie for months and months and months. It's a bit like Henry Cavill's Superman, which I think we have to move on from because he wants creative control, and no studio in their right mind is going to give a random actor creative control. We need a new Superman, but it's that whole thing again. The Ezra Miller situation has to be dealt with. The Flash movie situation has to be dealt with. You can't sack a good girl like Leslie Grace and then keep Ezra Miller in a job. That is a bad look. I do agree with Batgirl being cancelled. Well, I agree with that version of Batgirl being cancelled. I do believe the film should have been given more funds to go theatrical. And I think if that happened, everyone would have been happy. Because let's be clear here, Batgirl should never have been commissioned for an HBO Max movie. That's the problem. That's why it wasn't good enough. That's why it was cancelled. But that should have been a cinematic movie from the beginning. That was down to Toby Emmerich. Now, David Zaslav's mistake was not giving that movie more money. Because we know those directors are very competent. We've seen their other projects. So it is unfair in a way, but I do kind of understand why he cancelled it. And Henry Cavill, again, we've got to move on from him because he wants what he wants and he's not going to get it. So we're not going to get him back. So we just need to start a brand new franchise again and again. And then the other article from the Hollywood Reporter was the confusing state of DC, which Variety tried to copy in a different way and talk a bunch of shit. But the Hollywood Reporter version was from one of the best journalists in Hollywood, Boris Kidd. I thought it was very intelligent. It made a lot of sense. It was a really, really good article because it is confusing for people. Because when you're not direct with people about your plans, this is what happens. Telling me that you've got a 10-year plan and you're going to have a DC Studios may sound exciting, but it's threadbare. And nobody knows actually what you're going to do. And with multiple rumours coming out from multiple publications with so many different agendas and loyalties from different departments of the studio, it blows the consumer's mind. Because you and I, the geeks and the nerds, may understand it all, but there's many just random people from the commercial audience who don't get that. And they're the most important people that need to understand what's going on. So Zaslav needs to make announcements and very quickly, because that article from Variety was very irresponsible, but that's the kind of shit that's gonna come out, because there's still a civil war at WB, and it needs to be knocked on the head immediately. We need someone running this thing and running this thing immediately. I feel very uncomfortable, as much as I love James Gunn and I love Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, that there's a Peacemaker 2, because I'd rather the whole DCEU just be burnt to the fucking ground. I'm less uncomfortable about the Batman sequel, but I liked the Batman, but I don't think it has much rewatchability to it, and I don't necessarily think it's something that people can embrace. I don't think it's as embraceable as Batman Begins or Batman 89. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens there. So there's a lot of confusion right now, and we'll see what happens. Everything, my friends, is in flux, and as I keep on saying, nothing is safe. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you on Sunday's show. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.